Okay. We're live on YouTube. Hey, everybody. Uh, Apologize for the late start here and a new link. But hopefully you found us and it's 12:20. So we're gonna jump right into things and get going here because we have a lot of ground to cover. I'm Julie Barrett, founder of Conservative Ladies of Washington, and you are watching our 2024 virtual tour with our endorsed candidates from Washington State. And today we are joined by State Senator Jim McCune of the 2nd Legislative District, and he is running for re-election. As I said, he is an endorsed candidate by the Conservative Ladies of Washington, and he is one of our favorite senators to work with. He's easy to work with in the Senate, and so we are very committed to helping him secure his reelection. And I'm excited to have him join us today because we're going to not only talk about the campaign, but talk a lot about the issues in the state legislature that have been really important to us and our audience and you all. And what we can do moving forward, because Jim is the only senator that got a 100% rating on our 2024 legislator scorecard. And he is, we'll get into this, but he is being challenged by another Republican. So we've got a bit of a fight on our hands here to keep this seat conservative. So welcome, Senator. I'm glad you could join us today. I'm glad we got our tech issues figured out. Maybe you could just start by telling people a little bit about yourself and about your campaign. We've got people from all over the state joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Julie. I appreciate it. And I am been a former state rep for 9 years, Pierce County Council member for 8, and then moved on to the Senate. Uh, it was a little bit more conservative back in the day when I was in the House, and this has really flipped to mainstream Republican controlled House and Senate. It's really a sad situation, and they virtually do not want you to talk about any high profile moral issues whatever, or get into them at all. So it's been quite an eye opener for me. I served in the 90s in the House, and it was really conservative then, and people really wanted to pass good bills, but now they don't want to touch them. They just want to partner with them.
Yeah.
It's a painful operation.
I would imagine it's a completely whole new set of cast of characters in the legislature now as opposed to in the 90s.
It definitely has. There was at least a solid 36 of us were super conservative from different districts, and it was a joy to serve with those guys and women. They were just wonderful people, but now it's pretty tough. And then you're losing Senator Mike Patton.
Mhm.
That's going to be a tough blow. He's my go-to guy, and he's a really great guy too. So he's helping me out too a lot in this campaign to get
Yeah.
me.
Well, I know that you and I have talked a lot about what's going on with this campaign and kind of we'll call it the funny business with this campaign, which is not funny. It's actually dirty politics, and it's really sad. It's very discouraging to have people who are supposed to be on our own side kind of sabotaging the efforts of good conservative legislators. And I don't know, I was in Spokane and got a call from Mike, and he said we got to help Jim. They're running a Republican against him, and I couldn't believe it. But yeah, he's our go-to guy too, and he's great, and I know he's helping you a lot as well.
Yeah, he certainly is. How this all started, I got caught off guard in this campaign. I thought I was going to have a pretty easy ride to get through this because it's a Republican district. And then I woke up, got on May 6th to sign up, and I noticed, so wow, I have a Republican opponent. And I didn't think heavily a lot about it at that time until I got this call from Braun on Wednesday. the 8th. And Braun says, "Do you know you have a formal opponent?" I said, "Duh." And he said, and then they had the nerve to ask me for my surplus money. And, and I said, "Well, Braun, I have a formal opponent. I don't think I can get released any money." So, and then they call me not a team player because I wouldn't give my money up. But I think I would have gave it up. I probably would have been uh, double duped on that one. So, anyways, and then Wilcox, Barquez, um, and a few other senators jumped on board, and they really could keep their mouth shut. I've been down there. It's funny. They have their Bibles sitting on their tables, and I don't have one on my table. And I was thinking about it, but then I thought, well, if I put a Bible on my table, they got Bibles on their table, and they don't open their mouths.
Right.
They just keep them
Right.
shut. So I thought, well, maybe I better not put a Bible on the table. So, anyways, well, I was taught to put a Bible, plant your sword on your table, and it'll motivate you to stay uh, good conservative. So, but anyways, Senator Gilden is part of the hitting too as well. They're trying to run a campaign about me missing some votes, and yeah, I missed a couple of votes. I mean, a handful of votes, 128 votes over 10 years. That is virtually nothing. And other senators have missed a lot more, like Phil Fortunato, great guy. He's missed 241 votes in 1 year. But they're trying to blow it all out of, and for the general public, it looks terrible.
Right.
Because they know how many times you actually vote. They don't know we vote 600-700 times in the year or something like that. So it looks pretty. And then they put out that piece I showed you. Well, the one before that, they put out an empty seat. McCUNE's not there, doesn't show up. Well, I have 100% attendance record, but in retrospect, I caught in 2019, I got leukemia. And a lot of people didn't know that. And I went through some treatment. So I missed a couple of votes. But fortunately, there was the COVID deal, which was a bad deal. But I was able to carry my computer wherever I went, and I could be online. So I just missed that many votes. I was on computer all the time, wherever it went. So it was great. It served its purpose for those years.
So can you see this, the picture?
Yeah, I don't know where they found that, but it looked like I was working in the backyard or something.
Yeah. So missing votes on making our communities safer, supporting education, strengthening families, and raising your taxes. And so when I received this, I decided to go pull up your voting record because I was curious about that, because that didn't seem in alignment with what I know of you and what I have watched in, just the short time that I've been involved in legislation. And I have the PDFs if anybody would like. The 2023 session is 23 pages long, and the 2024 session is 17 pages long. And as you said, there were a total of 24 excused votes in 2024 out of a total of 657. And there were a total of 20 in 2023 out of 862. And some of those, I don't know the technical term for it, but when a bill goes through gets voted on, and then it goes from the Senate to the House, and then it comes back to the Senate. What do you call that? It comes back for reconciliation. So it was on the first vote.
Well, yeah, reconciliation, yeah.
Yeah. So there were several of those where on the first vote you were excused, but when it came back for final passage, you voted on it. And I went through, I looked at all of the bills, and I didn't see any that they're talking about as far as supporting strengthening families. Correct me if I'm wrong, Senator, but I haven't seen a single bill go to the floor for a vote that would strengthen families in Washington. Am I wrong on that?
Oh no, you're exactly right on that. There's no bill strengthening families. And there's no tax bills because everything's scheduled. and you know days ahead of time what we're going to do on the floor, so I can schedule around that uh, time if I need to go to some treatment. So I still in treatment because they say I can still get back what I got. So, but I scheduled it pretty far out, and it took off maybe on bipartisan bills where they're just uh, they take about less than 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes to get a bill up, and somebody talks on one side, and another guy said a good go, and it goes through, and they fly through some bills. Um, but I never missed an important bill ever on that in the Senate at all.
I would like to just point out one of the things that I thought was interesting about this, and one of the other mailers that's out there shows that your opponent, Rhonda Litzenberger, is that her name?
Yeah.
Um, is endorsed by John Braun, who's the Senate Minority Leader, and JT Wilcox, who's the former House Minority Leader. And there was a bill in this past session that we worked very hard to fight against, as did you, Senate Bill 5462, which is the LGBTQ plus history curriculum mandated in Washington government schools. And the first time that the vote came to, first time the bill came to the floor for a vote, John Braun voted yes on the bill.
Oh wow,
And
I
he
didn't notice
came
that.
back because I was like, what is going on? I posted it on social media and I'm like, what is he doing? Because everybody, it was completely bipartisan except for that one vote. And he came back and said, well, I was pulled off the floor and I didn't know what they were voting on. And so when I came back to place my vote, what you voted with the Democrats? I mean, I would rather you just be excused and not vote than make a bad vote.
Well, if you make a mistake, you have time to change it. And so at the end of everybody's vote, and John Braun, so he's early on when they call him. And at the end, you walk in, it's very easy. You look up the board, you see 18 Republicans voted, and you wouldn't make your vote like that. You wouldn't want to vote with the 29 other ones. It's a pretty simple. I can see maybe you can make it there, but you have time to clean that air up. Or a member will say, hey, whisper over to you, you know you
Yeah.
voted that. So it's not, no, I don't believe Braun. I think personally, you're going to see a partnership with LGBTQ stuff and just have people stay virtually silent on all this stuff. And I'll just tell you, when I was in the caucus, they say what's in caucus stays in caucus, but this one I better not. I'll leave it out.
Okay.
I had an amendment to and 5599 to have it 18 years old, and fortunately, I said, why don't we roll call this amendment? This is a great amendment, roll call. And it is a super amendment. And nobody wants their child taken from them and taken to a place to get puberty blockers, hormone therapy. So they said, no, 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 that's not a good amendment. I mean, we're going to vote with the amendment, but we don't want to put our people under pressure, and they might get caught up in the campaign with that vote. So they were really afraid of standing up for families. I tell you, they're just totally afraid. And I even noticed, their speeches are, when it comes to mutilating a child in a sex operation, parents don't have that right. So, but they prefer to say it's a parent's right. Well, it's not really a parent's right. You can't do that to a child. Uh, and so I think on 5599, Braun made a small parents' rights speech. Fortunato made a speech more on abortion, and I think Mike Patton, but the rest of the people just stayed silent. They didn't say anything. I just explained the whole thing out myself, what they were doing.
Do you believe that the way that you are outspoken and just very matter of fact about what these bills do, what they are, do you think that has something to do with the fact that you're being primaried?
I think it is everything. I think because I'm uh, my theme and my campaign for years has been principle over politics, and I think that's why I'm being attacked, because I'm going to come out on principle over politics every time. I'm not going to sit there and let children get mutilated. I have an audience. I don't know how big my audience is. Whoever's watching, hopefully, I saved some kids from this destruction. Some parents learning what was really going on. Um, what's his name? Musk. Is that his name?
Elon Musk.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I read him the other day about he got fooled by puberty blockers. They recommended your
Yes.
kid's suicidal. You need to, and this during COVID. He said he got just totally tricked.
Yep.
And even though a guy's a genius, he got tricked that puberty blockers were going to help his kid. And then it found out that, hey, destroyed his life. Yeah.
Yeah. He lost his son, didn't he?
Yeah, he lost his son. Yeah.
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 You were talking about how back in the 90s, the majority of the Republican legislators were conservative and, over the last, I've only been really politically engaged for, the last few years, but we see the GOP, we got to be more moderate. We got to appeal to the middle. And so they compromise their values. We saw it with the, national GOP platform is compromising on marriage and abortion and even the Second Amendment. Um, why do you think um, why do you think it is that the Republicans across the board are doing that inch to the left? I mean, now we basically have the Republicans, majority of them in Washington are like old school Democrat, the 90s Democrats.
Well, that's their philosophy that they stay silent. They think they're going to win more seats. That's basically it. I don't believe that's true.
That's not working.
It's not working at all. They're losing seats, and Wilcox is quitting because he never won a seat. Uh,
Yeah.
and Braun is the same situation. He could lose 2 seats this year, maybe 3. So he's really messing up. These guys do not know how to campaign. There's a way you can campaign on all this stuff if you're
Right.
smart. So they're just getting away from it. They're going to be. If I read my politics like Massachusetts, it's really tough to get elected in Massachusetts a conservative. There's just no way they won't allow you in. So they have, and they don't have the majority, the Republicans there, but they partner with the Democrats on a lot of the moral issues and just let them go by. Yeah, we're in a sad situation. I think we could win if we had more conservatives, and we got to. Another problem with conservatives is we got to learn how to raise money. We got
Mm-hmm.
to how to be more aggressive and get people that a lot of people get consultants and their money just drains off of these consultants, and it's sad. I know a couple of the guys running have consultants and they just don't have any money to put in their mailer or anything.
Right.
So I found a different way to do it. So I don't use consultants at all.
Do you want to talk about that or?
Well, my son and his wife are both have communications degrees, and he's got a master's in writing and stuff, and they do campaign brochures. And
Fantastic.
so they're basically my consultants, and they know how to write them. My son has campaigned with me for years, and he knows how to write a lot of stuff in campaigns and good stuff. And so I use them, and then found my own printer, and they know how to sort a mailing list the way I want it sorted, and they take it to the post office. So I just do it all myself. Um, it's and then you just call a sign shop. I got my own sign shop that is reasonable price and do my signs. So I just do it all myself. I'm a one man show.
You're like a true grassroots guy, which is, I love to hear you say that because, Conservative Ladies of Washington is completely driven by grassroots. It's completely funded by small donations of citizens who are concerned. We don't have um, I think our biggest donation ever was $1,000.
Yeah.
We're all mostly volunteers, but I think it shows the power of the people to be able to use our, talents and different networking abilities to reach people and to fight for what is right and what is good and truth, and that's what you're doing, both in the legislature and as a candidate. And so I really love to hear that, because I think there's so much money wasted on these campaigns.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think consultants, I had a consultant in the early days, and he was really good. He didn't charge me a ton. Doug Simpson, he was really good. But then after that, I quit consultants, and most of them charge like 35 or $4,000 a month. And if you're running a low budget campaign, you're not going to make it. You've got to advertise. If you don't advertise, you're just not going to make it. A lot of people, when you're talking about money, they kind of veer off on that. But you have a big audience, and to reach
Yeah.
that audience, and the best way to reach it is the mailbox. There's no doubt about it. TV is all right, but you got to be sitting there to catch that
Yes.
commercial. Uh, and any other ad, whether it's an email. No, we know emails aren't really hot anymore, so people don't open them. Texts are a little bit better, but mailbox is still the place to go. And that alone is, for me, it's about, for a small 6x9 piece, it's about $11,000 to mail in my district. Yeah, so
Wow.
it's expensive. So I'm on the phone all the time trying to raise money,
Yeah.
money from
So
people.
it sounds like you need donations. And I don't have we're using Zoom instead of StreamYard, so I don't have my
Yeah.
banners that go up, but it's elect Jim McCune, right?
Yeah, select Jim McCune. Um, yeah, .com.
.com, and that you can go drop a donation there. I bet you probably need door knockers.
Well, we're kind of covered on that.
Okay.
This is really funny because over the years I done most of my doorbelling. Like last time, Amy, Amy Kruger, Amy.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I doorbelled with her and the Pierce County part of my district, and then I hired a guy to go with me to the Thurston part 4 years ago. Uh, but this time I just got caught off guard totally because I usually start early, right after session. I'm ready to go. I'm gone. But I said, hey, I don't need to do anything because I don't have an opponent really.
Right.
But then I got caught off guard, and a lot of people came to my rescue. I was really surprised. There's some people from the 11th district, the 28th district, and they're out doorbelling today, right now, down in Thurston. They're
Awesome.
doorbelling here, yeah. So I did get a lot of help on doorbelling. Um,
That's
and you
awesome. I'm
got,
glad to hear that. And I know that you are endorsed by Pastor's Picks, by Pastor
yeah,
Joe Featon.
yeah.
You're endorsed by us. Ari Hoffman, I know, just put out and added you to his list of endorsements.
Oh, I
Um,
did. Okay.
yeah, so that's awesome. And Pierce County GOP. So you've really got the people behind you on this. So it's kind of frustrating for me to see Republicans spending money and resources and time against another Republican when we have a lot of races where we need to defeat Democrats.
Absolutely. We do. We So I'm supposed to be running in the redistrict district, but I'm not running in the redistrict district. I'm running into the Democrat lawsuit district. So my district got affected. That's why they actually got emboldened, the Republicans, the liberal Republicans got emboldened to take me out because I got lost all the Ordine School District, which is really conservative, and I got thrown over to Spanaway. And so that's my biggest population. And then I got taken way down to Tenino. And so it's new territory. So Braun, I think that's what emboldened him. Hey, we can get him out of there, maybe, and get somebody more moderate that keeps their mouth shut. Um, So,
That's the
anyways,
key right there. Keep their mouth shut. And
yeah, yeah,
you're one of those few people in the legislature that is not going to keep your mouth shut.
yeah,
And we appreciate that about you.
yeah. So it's been fun. So on that brochure, you notice the Cascade Pack is on there. Well,
Hmm.
who runs the Cascade Pack? Wilcox is the leader of that Cascade Pack, but it's on the lobby list that I have. And Jim Waldo is another one. You ever heard that name?
I haven't, but I did pull up the PDC filing for the pack and saw
Yeah.
the list of names on there. And um I didn't know who ran it. I could see who the donors were, but that I figured JT Wilcox was somehow behind it. Um, and I will say I heard from one of the names that's on the mailer that said I asked to have my name not be on that mailer, and they couldn't or wouldn't do it. So,
Well, that's good. So, a couple of people, I know for sure, didn't know their money was going to take out a Republican instead of a Democrat. And I'm sure a lot of them don't know that on there, or they wouldn't be doing it because they know they're, well, I don't think we're going to pick up a seat. Uh, I don't even know
I
we're going
don't
to
think
hold our
so either.
own. So it
Yeah.
may be less members this year. And they're just making a terrible, terrible move. And we definitely need new leadership in the Senate, but we'll never get it unless we change a lot of members. And with Mike Patton gone, so a lot of us didn't like Braun from the start, and his leadership. You know, uh, he never personally asked me to keep my mouth shut or not talk on a bill or anything. Um, he never personally asked for my surplus money until that last time he called me. So, and then that's making a big deal of all that. And well, we know they're just will write anything in a brochure and lie.
Yeah.
So they know they can deceive the public. Well, I got two pieces going out this week uh, alone, and I think Mike had some surplus money. I'm not sure. I'm not supposed to know, but he might be sending something out too. So
Okay, that would be great.
yeah.
Um, I would love to. I know I can't see the YouTube chat, but we've got Joy, who's one of our leaders. She is in the chat there on YouTube and fielding for questions. And someone's asking about the national GOP platform stepping away from abortion and the Second Amendment. So, and how that might impact Washington. Before we get into that, though, I'd like to have you, because a lot of people don't know this. Most people don't geek out on TVW like I do.
Yeah.
And there was that Senate Bill 5444, which is about firearms in sensitive places.
Oh yeah.
And you actually had an amendment on that they adopted and made the bill less bad. That was for the list of places would not apply to CPL holders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was really quite a bill. So I missed a meeting, a caucus meeting that Mike holds for his committee, and because I had an appointment, so I missed that. So, but that night I called in because you had to have your amendments in that day ahead of time. So it was just out of the blue that I asked for that amendment. I asked for three different amendments, and that one I asked for to restore CPL or concealed carry. So it was just a lucky thing. And I'm surprised they accepted it. I think everybody in the committee was surprised they
Mhm.
accepted the amendment. But most people don't open carry anyway. So you see a few people.
Right.
So, yeah. But not, they don't, in these locations, zoos, parks, they don't open carry.
No.
Most, yeah. So, so it did restore that. It was great. Um, Amendment. Then I had a couple warning on the floor, so people would be warned at a gun store with a signage that, hey, this is what's happening in your open carry at these locations. Yeah.
Yeah, and it made the bill substantially better. I mean, it was
Yeah.
still a bad bill, but it was, I mean, that was a big deal to put that amendment through. And I have to admit that, I've watched enough of those Senate Law and Justice Committee meetings that Manka Dhingra, she is not usually one to allow amendments like that. So I was surprised that she did. And I don't know, it's an election year, so perhaps, that was part of her strategy there.
To be, well, I was shocked too, but what if I didn't have it? So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. It was worth a
it,
try. And
yeah,
now it kind of sets the precedent that they were willing to accept that. Why would they, now you kind of
yeah.
have that to stand on.
And then the thought was most of the testimony was all about open carry. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, brandishing a firearm. Yeah.
And you are, I think it's safe to say that you are 100% pro Second Amendment. You are, in there fighting for the Second Amendment rights and against all of these garbage, anti Second Amendment bills that go on. Um, Are you aware of the language change by the RNC platform to the Second Amendment?
No, I'm not. Are they
They
doing?
took it from, it used to be like several paragraph or at least a paragraph, and now I'd have to pull it up. I don't have it in front of me, but now it just comes down to like a phrase in a sentence. It's just a part of a sentence of what, their protection of the, we believe in the people's right to keep and bear arms, something like that. I mean, it's really vague and super vanilla. And do you see the weakening on a national level? Do you think that will impact the Republican platform, Republican leadership in Washington state?
I don't know if it will or not, but I heard about the platform. I haven't been paying attention to the national platform, but I heard they weakened the abortion part of it. And I don't really know what it reads because I haven't had time. I've been doing this campaign stuff that I normally wouldn't have been doing. And so I don't know exactly what it says in these areas. Um, but I don't think one way or another the national platform is going to have effect. I mean, we got such anti-gun Seattle people. I think they're going to come up with more bills, anti-gun bills from Seattle,
Yes.
no matter what, and they can get
What
away. I mean, they own the courts. We have no backup by courts, so they own the courts, so now they can get away with chipping away with the Constitution.
Yeah. Speaking of the Constitution, sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but the Washington Democrats, if they get a supermajority, they want to amend the state constitution. And abortion is one of the things that they would enshrine in the Constitution. Can you talk a little bit about how that would work? Um,
So that's the whole key to this lawsuit. Changing these states to make up districts is to get a supermajority so they can get one in the House and the Senate. So they knocked three senators out and several House members out. They need to gain these seats to pass constitutional amendments. And they're not just going to do abortion. That's just one of them. They're going to do
right.
some guns too. And it's going to be quite a change. Of course, it won't be legal, and it takes forever to get out of Washington State and the courts and get in the federal court and get it done. We haven't got our gun rights on clips magazines back as of yet, and none of it's been overturned. So it takes a long time. They know, they got more money we got. They get the deep government pockets against us. So it's not going to be good in Washington State. Um, but that lawsuit really threw everything the way they wanted it. I mean, I'm sure they worked directly under the table with the judge to move these
Oh,
districts
for sure.
to knock these people out, and so they had a chance to win these seats to get uh, these amendments on the Constitution on the ballot. How that works is simply they don't need the governor, and they have a super majority in both houses, and they just pass them on to the ballot to the people that vote on them. And then I got the Seattle crowd who will vote with them.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And what we've seen them do with elections, just in those last few sessions that I've been engaged, they've passed a number of bad election laws, making the Washington elections less secure and giving more voting rights to special groups of people. And, people say, well, that's not constitutional. And as you just mentioned, they know that all of this stuff is going to get tied up in courts and the process takes a long time. It takes a lot of money, and they pass too many unconstitutional bills for anybody to possibly fight them.
exactly. So back when I was in the House in '97, we had super majorities in both houses of Republicans. We had the Democrat governor, but they did not take advantage of putting ballot measures on back then. And it was really, I'm looking back on that time. I can't believe that they didn't take their authority to put a lot of things on in the Constitution. Um, I don't know why, but they didn't choose to do that. So, and of course, we couldn't get a lot of things couldn't get passed because we didn't have a governor. And now we're getting in a situation where they got the governor, and I'm not sure if they've got another governor, but it Democrat state, who knows?
Right.
And they'll have supermajority in both houses, so they'll just be freebie. No, there will be no stopping bills going through here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even more reason for citizens to engage and
Yeah.
speak up. And
Oh, I definitely. I would say that you irritate Wellman. uh, but I would still. We have to have the voice.
I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she just shut me off on that 2331. I was going to say something after she spoke, but it was moving forward, and that was it. She's not, the Republicans don't say much in the committees there, so she wasn't used to it, and so I thought it was kind of funny. But anyways, yeah, you can see her face when you guys come on.
Yeah.
So
So Jim is talking about Senator Wellman, who's the chair of the Education Committee, and education is one of our biggest issues. And so we're all over the Education Committee. If it's not me, it's Joy, or it's Jeannie, or it's Leslie. Um, and speaking of the Education Committee, so another one of the really bad bills was House Bill 2331, which is the textbooks and materials that can't be challenged, and basically allows these pornographic materials into your child's school. And you worked with us, our team, really closely on this to try to come up with an amendment that would be, just a common sense amendment, which it was. Maybe you can tell everybody about it. We have a clip on our YouTube of you presenting your amendment in the committee.
well, that amendment was just reinstating the pornography law in the state of Washington, basically, and it's these books are against the law. I mean, and somebody needs to take them to task, and they definitely need a lawsuit on this. But it was just I just pulled it right out of the on the RCWs and printed it and threw it out there. But when I got to the Senate, when they brought that bill to the Senate, Ron wanted me to cool it down. And I said, okay, you don't want to name all that stuff. And I said, well, just RCW at all. And we'll leave it in there as an RCW. He said, okay, I'll go with that. I said, okay, I'm fine. I'll go with that as long as I can speak to it. He said, okay, okay. So he was so scared of this bill being explained out in the public. It was really sad. And I'm glad for I actually Justice on Moms for Liberty. I heard her speaking on this quite a bit,
Mhm.
and so I caught was pretty caught up on it, and I knew when it came to the committee, something was going on here in this bill. But that bill, man, after dissecting that bill, that it is this. There is no avenue for a parent, really, more or
No.
less. I mean, that you're talking about a teacher brought a book in the classroom. She's not gonna, you're going to write a letter to her. She's going to say no. I mean, you're out of luck.
Right.
You,
There's
you're
no
asking,
avenue for a teacher either.
yeah,
If they're mandated to teach one of these, instruct from one of these
yeah,
books, there's no avenue for them.
yeah. It's just a law breaking bill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. I don't
And
know
that was
more.
a, go ahead.
I don't know why more Republicans didn't stand up against this because, as we know, and you probably know, get this in the minds of children, it could destroy their lives
Right.
totally, and destroy their family, or if they have a family, or they grow up to have a family, it could destroy them. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, it's really sad what they've done to the education system and all of the different forms of indoctrination, whether it's the comprehensive sexuality education, the queer theory, the CRT, all of that that they've not just pushed in mandated, but they're um, there's money attached to most of this stuff, right? So the
yeah.
taxpayers are having to fund this.
Well, the uh, sex ed bill is nothing but a grooming bill.
Right.
That's grooming kids from grade school on up. That's just a sad bill. And there, I wasn't there when that was passed, but Republicans by my LA consistent. He said they firstly didn't fight it in the Senate. It was just a joke. But 5462, uh, the integrative of LGBTQ in all textbooks is going to be, you're going to see a lot of bad stuff in textbooks. Um, they're going to explain what they do in these textbooks, and it's going to be a sad day for
Yeah.
them. So I hope people get out before that actually happens, but that's 2025 and a deadline. And there's no bringing it back to the legislature. So the legislature voted. If you voted on a bill like this, you voted on a bill you don't even know what's going to be in it.
So
So
so you're saying there's really no undoing or repealing of this process. They like whatever these curriculum, they have these curriculum coordinators. So whatever they decide goes in the books,
exactly,
that's what it
the
is.
legislature gave up all their authority when they passed that to say what's going on in those books. It's kind of like Common Core. When Common Core back when I was in the House, same thing. I brought the curriculum to the caucus. The whole thing, I sat it down there. I said, here's what we're voting on. We're voting on this, not those pretty little principles that you think they made up and put in the bill. We're
Right.
voting on what's in these books. And this is a UN driven a curriculum. You just read it, it's terrible. And math is rotten. And I just got half of them to come with me, but the other half voted with the Democrats with their bill that you didn't read the books, you didn't know anything about the bill.
And that happens a lot. A lot of times legislators don't really understand what they're voting on. And so they're just whatever kind of is being told in the legislature, or to the leadership or the caucus or whatever, they're just, and people have told me that. They said, well, I don't really know what, um, what mastery-based learning is, for example, or what media literacy is. They don't really understand what it is, but they're voting on it anyway. And so that's one of the things that our team has worked on is trying to, on bills that we're passionate about, trying to share information with the legislators so that they know what they're voting on.
So a couple of bills passed uh, at the end, and they went to one. I don't know the number. It's a DEI bill. Well, it wasn't DEI when it first over. It's a teach um, hiring teachers from out of state or whether veterans or whatever. And I voted yes on it originally. but when it came out of conference committee, it had DEI in it, and I was surprised that our ranking member on our education committee stood up and spoke against the bill. But when the vote came out, I couldn't believe it. There was only 6 or maybe 7. I'm not sure of us voted no. The rest went with the bill. And if you follow the trail, it goes right to LGBTQ stuff. It's right in the bill. So
Yeah.
it's terrible. And then another one, 1889, professional licenses for illegals. So when they come here. So I believe there's only 6 of us voted against professional licensing. And
Wow.
they made it easy to jump. They don't have to go through the same avenue we have to go. They got a lower threshold to go to get their licenses. And going to damage people's jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah. And Republicans we're the enemy, I guess now. Yeah.
Yeah, and so many of these bills that get passed, there's gosh, there were what, almost 900 that got passed in 2023, and then another 657 in 2024. That's like, 1,500 new laws in Washington state, and the legislators can't possibly keep up with that. Citizens have no idea what laws are being passed and what's happening until it's too late, right? Like we heard about this Seattle police is now hiring illegals thanks to some DACA bill that passed this session, and it was a bipartisan thing.
Yes. I think Taurus had an effect on some big vote when it came to 1889.
Mm.
And she voted for it, but yeah, I don't really know. I know that it doesn't look good for more conservatives getting elected.
Yeah.
So there'll only be 3 of us in our little caucus. It looks like, I don't know if Don Benton's son will make it or not. It'd be nice if he did. He's really conservative. I'm not sure about Brandon because they pour a lot of money in to beat Brandon.
Oh, right. In the 31st. Yeah. We'll have Brandon on live at 5 o'clock tonight. So
Yeah, he well, I'm going to recruit him to stay involved. He might be a good candidate to, not for the necessary legislature, for the council, because morale has been moderately
yeah.
liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah, since he ran, so that might be a good spot for him to get started. And I know some of these guys like Matt Marshall, they have to work for a living, and I retired from my business, so this is my business. And so it makes it hard for them to campaign. And so we've been putting his signs up for him and just putting him on mine, hoping to carry him through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So what do you, I want to try to leave people with a little bit of encouragement, or at least with a call
Oh,
to
yeah,
action.
yeah.
It is hard. Like we all know the truth that it is hard to elect a conservative in Washington. What can we had Mike Kelly on, who's last night he's running to replace Senator Patton. And hope, he seems conservative and he's endorsed by Senator Patton as well as CLW. What can people do to help get these conservatives across the finish? Is it donations, or what would you say for people watching? What would you say is the best thing they could do right now between now and August 6th?
Well, one guy, when I first started running for office, and a lot of people don't like this, but he was running for, at that time I was living in King County and I live in the Des Moines area. And he was running for King County. And I asked him, hey, what it takes to get elected? And this is before I got elected. He said 3 things. Well, I'll let you tell me what the 3 things are.
Money,
Yep.
name
Money.
recognition.
No, no, money, money, and money.
Oh,
He said three things: money, money, and money. So it sounds kind of funny, but if you can't get in the mailbox, you can't. You can doorbell. I doorbelled back in 2004. Maybe 30%, 35% people home now. Less now. So you're not really making a lot of contact with a lot of people anymore at the doorbelling. So it is a brochure there, but you're not making a lot of contact. The best place is the mailbox, and the mailbox is expensive. So I don't know how much time you got, but I won't even mention what I started, but I started a group, and I'm going to continue on working that and helping. I got waylaid because of what's going on, my
yeah.
race. So I'm going to continue that as a grassroots way to compete with these richer donors. And I'm going to actually get that going. I'm going to start a 527 committee. It's kind of like the party has, the Republican Party has, or the Democrat Party has. And you get a nonprofit mailing status with that once you become a committee in the state. And so that gives you cheap mailing rates, about half of what we cost. So if I mail a piece for 11,000, I can get almost 3,000 off.
Wow.
6,000 that is just bulk rate mailing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, money, whether a small check, big check, whatever. A person's got to get advertising, whether it's a tax or whatever. Right now, you got my good friend Matt Marshall. He was a consultant, so you can see what happened in there. And he's going to be able to do. He did one piece, joint piece with us, three of us, on endorsed candidates, and that was good. But his opponent's done two and has some name ID from being the sheriff, former sheriff, even though he lost that seat in Thurston County. But to overcome a person named is just the way it is. More mail. If you mail 5 pieces, they only mail two. Most likely, you're going to mail, and especially if it's just an open seat, you're going to win that race just by the name ID.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the way it is.
Do
It's
that.
just sad. Most voters don't pay attention and don't read the
Yeah.
mailers that come to them. They just briefly see the name and, hey, I know that name. Now check the box.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Well, maybe after the primary, we can come back and do a video about your PAC and tell
Yeah,
people about it and get people on board to help fund that so that we can help conservatives
yeah, yeah. It's
win.
a good way to help conservatives because you can get the pack itself is going to give you sign up for it, and then if you commit to give $50 or more in the primary, that goes directly to the candidate. So you can just say if you have 1,000 members, that's $50,000. Now you're in
Yeah,
the game. So it's
that's
pretty
awesome.
easy. Yeah.
Well, sir, I thank you for the work that you do in the legislature. I appreciate you being a friend to conservative ladies and all of your work with us and communicating with our team to be effective in Olympia. And we're going to keep fighting for you so that we can send you back to Olympia to serve Washington again. And I would say to our viewers, you don't have to be in Jim's district, which is District 2, to donate to his campaign. So please head over to electjimmccune.com. That's Jim McCune, MCCUNE, electjimmccune.com, and make a donation today. Any size is helpful. And that's definitely a way that you can help out his campaign and get him back in Olympia for us. So thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, sir. And we'll bring you back again after the primary when you win the primary.